looking for a friend. Think I'll catch a southern train and ride someplace pretty. Take a trip on the L&N. Cause I'm riding high and wide to my home up around the bend. I'll soon be drifting back to those hills of Caroline when I'm riding on the L&N.
That's it, man. I guess I'm gonna go down here to the office again, just take another look at it. Yeah, this is the new office. Again, sorry to show you guys this again. I mean, I'm just down here master planning this thing because, like I said before, I'm gonna pretty much use the furniture that I already have. I'm kind of debating on whether or not I'm gonna go over there and get that desk and everything. Because when I look at this space and what I'm trying to do with it, I don't really know if that extra furniture will fit in here along with the stuff that I have and the stuff that I plan to get. I was kind of thinking to a certain extent that I would let the person that I find as my paralegal or whatever, you know, decorate this wall how they want, because they're gonna have to stare at it all day. But then again, I mean, I think I have enough style. I mean, I'm not like the HGTV woman with her husband up in Waco. I'm not that good. I think I want to put a TV on this wall right here, so that way I can watch the games and stuff while I'm working. You know, man, that's like a big benefit. That's like a big thing for me. Like, I used to have to come in here and I used to have to come in here and just work, and if the football game was on, hey, I'm just gonna miss it because I gotta work. Because if you don't design it, I mean, that saying is true. If you don't design your life, someone else will design it for you. And what do they have planned for you? Not very much. The next step now is I need to find a legal intern and I need to find a receptionist or paralegal. I think I'll find a legal intern quicker, a lot faster. So that's what I think I'm going to end up doing. But I need to find someone. The person that I find who's going to be like my paralegal or receptionist, that is going to be like my point person. Like, that is going to be the person I would like to grow with my firm for like the next 20 years or whatnot, because I figure I'm going to be doing this for the next 20, 25 years. Things happen for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. That's what they tell me. But it's happening. I still feel very awkward walking around with a camera a lot of times in my face like this. One reason I don't like vlogging, I really don't like doing this, to be honest with you, because I think it makes, well, to me, it feels like you think you're that important that you're gonna make a vlog about your life and expect other people to watch it. These artichoke hearts, oh my God, delicious. Put this on a little bit of lettuce and whatnot, you know, a little tomato. You don't even have to really put salad dressing on it. I mean, it's already marinated in oil. This is delicious. I think I'm going to have a few right now. If I can find a fork. Don't give up. That's my thing, you know. Don't give up. Yeah, so if you thought this was going to be about talking about my cases and stuff like that, surprise. Not going to be doing that. That's boring. And quite frankly, I mean, I wouldn't do that because it might violate attorney-client privilege. But what I will say is fantasy football drafts on Yahoo have opened back up officially today. So if you're not already working on your mocks, you better get cracking. At least if you think you're going to beat me. Because I like to win. Alrighty. So here today, sorry it's nighttime and I'm a little tired, but I do have a bunch of energy for this presentation. So today we're continuing part 2 of the alcohol and controlled substances testing for commercial truck drivers or commercial motor vehicle drivers. As we said before, yesterday, the controlling statute is 49 CFR 382, right? So there are only a few things we're going to cover today. The main thing is, look, so the motor carrier must conduct random alcohol controlled substances testing on a certain percentage of drivers throughout the year. And those tests have to be spread out during the calendar year. So even if you are like, you know, the best employee ever, chances are that you are going to be, or you could be, alcohol or controlled substances drug tested sometime during the year. You don't know when it's going to happen, but it can happen to you. So just keep that in mind as you go forward. And it doesn't matter whether your conduct has been good or bad in the past. That's not how they're choosing them. It's just a certain percentage have to be chosen each year. Okay? So what I want to talk about today is kind of about the post-accident testing. So after a truck driver gets into a wreck, what exactly is the process as far as them dealing with a urine, breath, or blood testing to determine if they had some type of illegal substance or substance in their body that they're not supposed to at the time of the wreck. Okay, so mandatory alcohol and controlled substance testing takes place when there's either, number one, there's a wreck that results in a fatality. I think we all know what fatality means, but a wreck that results in someone dying. The second thing is if you are issued a citation by the officer and there is bodily injury involved that requires immediate treatment away from the wreckage or from the wreck scene. So if someone has to be transported to a hospital because you rear-ended them or because a truck driver rear-ended them, then that, my friend, is going to get you a post-accident drug test. The third thing is if there's a disabling damage done to property, I'm sorry, not property specifically, but disabling damage that is done to a motor vehicle, okay? If there's disabling damage done to a motor vehicle and it has to be towed away from the scene, you, my friend, have won the prize of getting a post-accident drug test. Now, the thing is this, is that it's not about if, for the property damage portion or the motor vehicle damage portion, it can be any vehicle that's damaged, including yours, but it also, it has to be something that can't be remedied right there on the scene. So if you can just snap the headlight back in or something like that, that's not going to work. It has to be disabling damage to the point where the vehicle has to be towed away from the scene. So just to go back over that real quickly, you're going to have a post-accident drug test in any truck our commercial motor vehicle case, if there is a fatality, if there is a citation issued by an officer and there's bodily injury where the person has to go to a hospital or treatment center, and number 3, if there's any disabling damage done to a vehicle and it has to be towed away from the scene. All right. Now, the time for the test is controlled by 49 CFR 382.303A. Okay. And I think I talked about this in the vlog yesterday, that if it's an alcohol test, that the safety director for the motor carrier has essentially 2 hours to do that test. If they don't do it within 2 hours, then they have to put a notation in the file documenting exactly why they did not do it within the 2-hour period. The thing is, like I was saying, is that the time for the testing is controlled by 49 CFR 382.303A. And as I said before, when it comes to the alcohol testing, you're supposed to be tested within 2 hours, or the truck driver is supposed to be tested within 2 hours. If you can't be tested in 2 hours, they have to put a note in the file. And then after that, it's 8 hours. After 8 hours, you're not tested. They have to cease all attempts to try. For controlled substances, they have 32 hours to basically try to get you drug tested. And if they don't, then they have to put it in the file. Okay. Now, as far as the drug testing post-accident and all that, the motor carrier doesn't have to drug test you if the federal government official or a state government official has already tested you. They don't have to do that. But as long as they were following the federal regulations when they tested you, and we're talking about interstate commerce here, then the motor carrier should be safe in all of this. Now, the other thing that needs to be mentioned is that if, for whatever reason, the motor carrier decides to cancel the alcohol controlled substances test, then if they cancel that and they don't ever actually make it happen within that same time frame like they're supposed to, that can be used against them in court to show that they were attempting to conceal the driver's possible usage of alcohol or controlled substances. All right. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the chain of custody as far as the specimen, the urine sample, the blood, whatnot, the urine sample post drug testing. So when you have a truck accident and they believe there's alcohol been involved, they give you the alcohol test within the 2-hour period or whatnot. That urine sample test is going to produce 2 paperwork forms. Okay, the first form is going to be sent with a sample to the lab with the specimen. It's going to have a barcode number on it, and it's going to have the truck driver's social security number on it. The second test is the second form is going to go to the MRO, or the medical review officer. And the medical review officer will collect the samples and the information of the driver and completes a verification worksheet based on a positive result of the urine sample. So if it's a positive result, they have to fill out this form. It's called the MRO verification worksheet. If it's a positive result, the MRO will then contact the truck driver about the positive result and ask for 2 things. They're going to ask for, hey, an explanation. Why are you testing positive for alcohol? Or 2, they're going to ask for a split specimen. So, hey, you want to try this again, or we want to see, we can split that test again and split that urine again and see what we can get. See if it comes back with a negative result. After that, a letter will be sent to the motor carrier about the positive result, and then they have to take the actions that they have to take as far as putting the driver out of service or whatever, firing them or whatever they're going to do. Now, when it comes to admissibility of post-accident results, alcohol testing is relatively, I'm not going to say it's simple, but it's easier to figure out than controlled substance testing. The reason why is because you know how long alcohol is going to stay in your body for a few hours, and a toxicologist is going to be able to determine at the time of impact, based on the person's height, weight, and all that, what their BAC level, blood alcohol concentration level was, and whether they were truly intoxicated at the time of the accident, or time of the wreck, excuse me. However, with the controlled substance test, cocaine, meth, weed, marijuana, whatever you want to call it. All these things have different effects on the body, and although they may impair someone for a few hours, they can linger in the body for days. And a truck driver's or motor carrier's argument is always going to be that, well, this guy wasn't high at the time he was driving. He was doing those drugs much earlier than this, he told us. And you're going to probably have a toxicologist and some witnesses and an expert go through this and break it down and see whether or not this guy's actually telling the truth or not. And if he's telling a lie, I mean, they're going to pay for it in court. So it's best to be honest. The other two things I wanted to talk about is refusal to submit to testing. So commercial truck drivers, commercial motor vehicle operators cannot refuse alcohol controlled substance testing. You can't do it. I mean, when you take the CDL, you pretty much say, hey, if you come in here and test me randomly at any time, I'm ready for it. I'm going to take it, and that's the end of it. And the reason why you cannot refuse a alcohol controlled substances test is because a motor carrier is prohibited from allowing a driver to perform a SSF, a safety sensitive function, or continuing a safety sensitive function. We talked about those yesterday in part 1, and we already know that pretty much a safety sensitive function is pretty much anything you do other than being inside the sleeper berth, going to sleep. So you can't do anything. You can't do your job if you refuse a test, and you're probably going to be fired if that happens. Okay. So the last thing is dealing with alcohol controlled substances testing and procedures. Okay. So a motor carrier cannot be held liable. Well, let me roll that back a bit. Okay. So a motor carrier can hire an agency to do the drug testing for them. Okay, they can hire a third party and say, come in here, pee in this cup, let's draw your blood, breathe on me, whatever you want to do. They can hire someone to do all that stuff for them, a third party. What cannot happen is they cannot be held liable for the agency's failure to perform testing in the appropriate manner. Now that's kind of backwards, I think. That sounds a little weird. If the FMCSA wants to look at something, that might be something to actually address. But the last thing is a motor carrier can have stricter guidelines than the federal regulations when it comes to their alcohol and controlled substances testing. And that's probably in the best interest of a motor carrier to have much more stricter regulations than the federal regulations, because you remember yesterday we talked about the fact that it says that you can't have beer or alcohol 4 hours before you hop in that truck. Now, I don't know how you grew up or what the people you grew up around or whatnot, but 4 hours for someone who has probably been drinking a lot really won't be anything if they've been drinking hard. So it's definitely a good idea for a motor carrier to have a stricter guideline than, hey, you only have to not drink for like the last 4 hours. I mean, that's crazy. But anyways, this is it. This is the Big Rig Bull here. I'm wrapping it up, part 2. Hope you guys enjoy this. I've just been kind of rambling on at the last minute. But I will see you tomorrow for part 3, and you have a great day.
In the darkest of days, sometimes we find out who we are. Be the change or hit the bottom, hit it hard. We have a choice, yeah, we can take the power away and turn it into something to believe in. Believe in, it's up to you. It's up to you. Voices rising like a church choir, light it up like a wildfire, setting these dreams higher and higher and higher till they come to life. see us walking away, 'cause now we made it this far. We ain't ashamed of who we are. We made a choice, this army's here to stay. And trust me, this is something to believe in. Achieve it, it's up to you. It's up to you. Voices rising like a church choir, light it up like a wildfire.